A product called Recall being recalled. I just don't know how they didn't see this one coming.
You know, I will say when we talked about this, I heard from somebody at Microsoft who basically just accused me of wetting the bed over something, very inconsequential.
Oh, I think I know that person at Microsoft.
Yeah. And, I was like, I don't know. It seems like this really sucks.
Casey, it's time for another game of Hat GPT.
All right, Kevin, let me pass the hats. Hat GPT is, of course, the segment where a variety of news stories from the world of tech and the future are placed into a hat, and one of us will take a headline out of the hat and make the other person discuss it until we get bored, and at that point we will say, stop generating.
All right, so let's use our bucket hat today.
Yep. Let's see what we have here.
You just hit the mic a couple more times. That's good. Yeah, just really clock it.
All right, let's see, Kevin. The first story, Eric Schmidt is secretly testing AI military drones in a wealthy Silicon Valley suburb. This is from Forbes. Last year, Eric Schmidt, who of course you'll remember was the former CEO of Google, quietly founded a secretive military drone company called White Stork. And apparently it has recently been spotted testing this drone in and around Menlo Park. And so, Kevin, how would you feel if you had bought a house in a wealthy suburb and then one of Eric Schmidt's murder drones started hovering nearby?
I don't think I would feel great. And actually, I saw this story and I just thought to myself, thank God the effective altruists got into AI, because this is my hottest take. If these people, these effective altruists, had not gotten interested in AI a decade ago, the people who would be at the forefront of the AI industry now would be these weird military dudes building drones to use in wars and testing them in suburbs. So I feel good on one hand that I've never heard of White Stork and that it does not appear to be a major player in defense AI, but I'm also terrified because this is not good. This is not good.
Kevin, when I was growing up, a White Stork was a symbol of someone bringing a baby to your front doorstep, and now it will probably be the last thing I see before I die. All right, stop generating. All right, this next one, why Perplexity's cynical theft represents everything that could go wrong with AI. This story is from Forbes, and Forbes is taking Perplexity, the AI-powered search engine whose CEO we've had on the show, to task over what it described as stealing its articles, using AI to summarize and repackage them, and doing so without prominent attribution of links. This week, Randall Lane, Forbes' chief content officer, wrote that Perplexity repackaged one of its recent scoops, published its own AI-generated article that summarized it, including several sentence fragments that appear to have been lifted word for word, sent a push notification to users pointing them to its summary, created an AI-generated podcast out of the summary, and made a YouTube video that now outranks Forbes' original article in search. In response, Aravind Srinivas, CEO of Perplexity and former Hard Fork guest, said that Perplexity was the number 2 source of referral traffic for Forbes' acclaimed Forbes disputes. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, I mean, this is something that you were saying. You called this one. Because back when we had Aravind on the podcast, you said, look, this is what's going to happen. This company is going to hoover up the entire internet. It is going to summarize that. It is going to put these little tiny links and attributions, in its summaries. No one is ever going to click on them, and they will basically be sort of repackaging, paraphrasing, regurgitating, whatever you want to say. They will be sort of extruding this sort of journalism product and sort of claiming it as their own, and people will engage with that and not the original articles that people had to work so hard to produce.
Yeah, and I'm really sad that I was right about this one, because my hope would be that Aravind went back and tried to build a sort of better and more ethical framework for doing this sort of thing, but they didn't. And look, I'm really worried. This stuff is a moral catastrophe, and the tech industry needs to do a lot better. Maybe legally they'll find some way to get away with it, but it is absolutely wrong, and it is self-defeating in the long run. If this truly becomes the way that most people access their news, this journalism is going to disappear, and Perplexity is not going to have push notifications to send to anybody about anything, because nobody's doing the danged work anymore. So what a disaster.
Yeah, and I should say Perplexity has said they just told Semaphore, another publication, that they have been working on revenue sharing deals with high quality publishers. Basically, they're saying, we're working on this. We're trying to make these citations more prominent. But I do not think publishers are going to be happy that there are now AI companies out there scraping their hard-earned stories, repackaging them as news articles and podcasts and YouTube videos, and boosting themselves above the originals in Google search.
Yeah.
So Bad news for journalism. Bad news for Perplexity. Stop generating. Okay. Let's go. Okay, this one is also from Forbes. Wow, a lot of Forbes today. The spectacular failure of Disney's Star Wars hotel is going viral. Apparently, this is a new viral YouTube video about the failure of Disney's spaceship-themed hotel called Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. This hotel opened its doors in 2022, only to close them a year later. And YouTuber Jenny Nicholson took a deep dive into the failure of the Star Wars hotel, releasing a 4-hour video essay arguing that Disney oversold and underdelivered. I have not watched this YouTube video. Did you watch this YouTube video?
I did. And let me say,
Wait,
masterpiece.
You watched a 4-hour-long YouTube video?
I watched a 4-hour video, and I would have watched a 5th hour because that's how good Jenny Nicholson is as she dismantles this experience where she and one other person went, and for $6,000, they spent 2 days inside this hotel and had a miserable experience. But it wasn't miserable maybe for the reasons that you would think. Like, it wasn't that, the food was terrible and, the staff was mean. It was that Disney had come up with such a cynical product that was basically based on the idea that people love Star Wars so much that they will accept absolutely anything and pay $6,000 for the privilege. And she breaks down why that's absolutely not the case. This is honestly just an amazing commentary on this cultural moment where these mega corporations try to find these fans and then just serve them absolute slop and tell them to love it when in reality it actually sucks.
Okay, so if I don't want to spend 4 hours watching this YouTube video, but I want to see what it says, is there a tool that I can use to have AI summarize it for me?
Yeah, I recommend Perplexity AI. It's going to have a really nice summary for you, Kevin.
Okay, Stop generating. Go watch the video.
All right. Instagram is testing unskippable ads that you can't scroll past. This is from The Verge. Instagram is testing, quote, ad breaks that force you to stop and look at an ad for a period of time before you can continue scrolling. Several X and Reddit users reported seeing the feature, and Instagram spokesperson Matthew Tai confirmed to The Verge that ad breaks are being tested. Well, Kevin, how excited are you for this one?
I actually am excited because I have a little bit of an Instagram use problem, and I'm excited for a feature that repels me every time I go on Instagram.
So you think this solves the problem, that you see the ad break and you think, oh, the heck with this?
Yeah, and then I get time off my screen. I get to reconnect with my family. I think this could be a really good thing for my life. No, this is obviously annoying and bad. And it reminds me, do you remember a year or two when this viral patent made the news? Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. This was Sony had patented a device for interactive advertising where basically you would get shown a commercial for something, and in order to make the commercial stop, you would have to physically get up from your couch and yell something at your TV. So I think the one in the patent was just yelling McDonald's and then the ad stops. And at the time, people thought this was dystopian and weird. And I gotta say, that's where we're going.
It is basically here. Well, God help us all. All right, stop generating.
Okay, this one is from the New York Times. It's called Every Elephant Has Its Own Name, study suggests. Scientists say they have found evidence with the help of AI that elephants have names and that they call each other by their names. This was published Monday in the journal Nature, Ecology, and Evolution. According to the researchers, they used an AI tool to analyze the rumbles that certain elephants produce, and they found that individual elephants seem to respond to certain rumbles more than others. So far, the scientists aren't sure precisely which part of the rumble might be the elephant's quote-unquote name, but they did find that their AI tool's ability to identify basically which elephant the rumble was intended for far exceeded what random chance would dictate.
Well, actually, there I can help out the scientists here, Kevin, because my understanding is that your elephant name is the street where you grow up on, and then the name of your first pet, and that's your elephant name. This is very exciting that we're using AI to sort of understand how animals communicate. What did you think?
Yeah, I like this. I like the idea that I could go on safari and an elephant could come charging toward me, and I could just be like, "Hey, Bob." Cool it.
I'm actually working on a beautiful story about you on a safari, and it's called Call Me By Your Elephant Name.
It reminds me of my favorite joke.
What's that?
Why do elephants paint their toenails red?
Why is that?
So they can hide in cherry trees.
Why do elephants paint their toenails red so they can hide in cherry trees?
Yeah. Have you ever seen an elephant in a cherry tree?
No.
Then I guess it works.
We'll be right back.
All right, pass that.
All right. Microsoft recalls screenshot feature after outcry. So some listeners may remember when Microsoft launched this feature, which takes constant screenshots of every single thing that you're doing on your PC so that you can quickly search for them later. We said, this sounds like one of the greatest and most intrusive privacy violations of all time. Well, Microsoft is now making changes, and the most important thing to know is that this will now be opt-in. So if you would rather not have a record of every single horrible thing you've ever typed in your entire life, you can rest easy. What did you make of this, Kevin?
Well, my first lesson is that you should never call a product something that will be extremely funny if it turns out to blow up and you have to dial it back. A product called Recall being recalled, I just don't know how they didn't see this one coming.
You know, I will say when we talked about this, I heard from somebody at Microsoft who basically just accused me of, like, you know, wetting the bed over something, you know, very inconsequential.
Oh, I think I know that person at Microsoft.
Yeah. And, I was like, I don't know. It seems like this really sucks. And over the next couple of weeks, as security researchers looked into this, they said, Microsoft, what the heck are you doing? So I feel very validated about this one.
All right, stop generating.
All right.
Last one.
Yeah.
This is from The Verge. Spotify is increasing U.S. prices again. A year after Spotify first increased the price of Spotify Premium in the U.S., they are doing it again. Next month, subscribers to Spotify will start receiving an email detailing the price increases to their plans. One Spotify Premium package will now cost $11.99 a month, up from the $10.99 increase announced last year. I saw this one a couple days ago because I got an email from Spotify saying that my subscription plan, which is a premium family plan, was going to increase from $16.99 a month to $19.99 a month. Casey, what the hell is going on with all these subscription increases?
Well, there was actually some interesting reporting recently that Spotify has the lowest churn of any major subscription media service. So what that means is once people start using Spotify, they're just sort of very unlikely to bail. And if you're Spotify, that's just an opportunity because you know you can just keep jacking that price up little by little every year. And most people aren't going to run fleeing for another service. So kind of a bummer. But I got to say, Kevin, as somebody who grew up in the era where listening to one CD would cost me $18, the fact that the price of a basic Spotify premium plan has gone up, what now, $2 since launch in the United States does not actually make me that concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of justify it still. I'm not going to cancel my subscription. I use Spotify all the time. I like the family plan. I'm not one of these churn risks, but man, you start adding up increases. I mean, YouTube Premium increased its price this year. Netflix has been steadily increasing prices. Like, all of these subscriptions are just getting more and more expensive. And I got to think there's some breaking point where people are going to say, enough, I've outstripped my budget here.
Yeah, and if you're planning to start a revolution based on media prices, let us know. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, is Platformer planning any price increases?
You know, I believe that we're actually the last media property that has not increased its prices since launch. We're 4 years old. We're holding steady at $100 a year.
You're like the Costco hot dog. You'll never change your price, no matter how high
We're
inflation
the Costco
gets.
hot dog of media. Okay, stop generating.
That's ChatGPT.
That's HatGPT.
That's HatGPT.
ChatGPT is something else. You can now find it on Siri.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the end of this clip. If you liked what you saw, head on over to our page and subscribe, and you can get the full podcast. We do a show like this almost every week on tech and the future. Head on over there now and subscribe.